Previously, on our 2-acre world, we were exploring homesteading in the lives of our ancestors. Let's jump right back in with disasters. Revelation 21:4, and God will wipe away every tear. Isaiah 48, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever. Disasters are inevitable. They will happen. Sometimes you can predict them, depending on where you live. This photo is of my grandparents' home in Hawaii. Flooding can be a problem. We were invaded by blister beetles last year, which we had never had before. Not only did they demolish our beets, we had to, with gloves on, pick them up individually so the horses and chickens didn't eat any. My great-grandmother told a story of their only cow getting into the cornfield when she was a child and overeating on the green corn. The cow died the next day. My great-great-grandfather skinned the cow, tanned her hide. He set a trap beside her carcass that night and caught a wolf that had been menacing the farm. He skinned and tanned its hide. He took the 2 hides, went into town, and that helped with the purchase of a new cow. One outstanding event in the early days in Kansas that was clear in my great-great-grandmother's mind was the grasshopper plague of 1876. As they had arrived in Kansas in November of 1875, they were raising their first crop. When one day in August 1876, they noticed a dark cloud coming from the northwest. Presently, grasshoppers began dropping everywhere. Faster and faster they came until they covered everything. Ladora took the oilcloth off the table and covered the well to keep them from dropping into the well and ruining it. At first they tried to cover some of the garden to save it, but it was impossible. The hoppers came in such clouds that they darkened the sun. In 3 days, after they had devoured every green thing growing, they rose into the air and flew off to the southeast. April 16th, 1906. My great-grandparents lived in Benicia on the San Francisco Bay. Can you see where this is going? My great-grandmother lost over 300 quarts of preserves. That is a lot of work. My great-great-grand-aunt in 1880 in Kansas was the local doctor. She delivered many babies, and she was proud that none of the babies she delivered died. She knew how to mix potions and knew her herbs. Are you growing anything medicinal in your pharmacy? My great-grandmother writes, 12th October, 1910. I went to Los Angeles to buy some more chicks. I paid 12.5 cents apiece for 58 brown leghorn baby chicks, carried them home in 2 shoe boxes. 18th of October, 1910. Another baby chick lays dead by the feeder. Why, I don't know. 20th of October, 1910. Believe me, I put most of the day into caring for my baby chicks. Another terrifying incident that Kansas settlers experienced quite frequently were prairie fires. When word was received that a fire was coming, the men quickly plowed a fire guard around their home and herded their livestock inside. Then they left their family and went to fight the fire. If the wind was very high, the fire would leap the fire guard and everything would perish. This was in the 1890s. Extra income. Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Sometimes things happen, a natural disaster, or an unexpected cost, and you need to do something to supplement your income. I had a great-granduncle, 1896 to 1988. who owned a gasoline and tire shop in Kansas. Charge accounts were accepted in those days, and in lean years, some customers had a difficult time paying on past due accounts. During one period, the firm accepted wheat in payment of accounts, and the customer was allowed credit of 5 cents to 10 cents a bushel above market price. That's if the customer would haul the grain to the elevator for storage in the firm's name. The shop paid storage and then sat back and waited for the price of wheat to go up. Later, this uncle and his partner each decided to build a house to rent out for extra income. Farmers were contacted about doing labor for credit on their accounts. Payment for common labor and carpenter work was 50 cents per day. In 1910, my great-grandmother paid a man with a horse and a plow to till a good part of their ground for a garden. This is my little niece climbing a cherry tree in Cherry Valley, California. If you have the ability, opening your homestead as a U-pick farm is an idea. You can sell extra livestock that you breed. This is Chuck's fourth cousin, Claiborne Howell, chopping copra on Utila, off the coast of Honduras. Copra is dried coconut meat that is used to extract coconut oil. My great-great-grandfather used to take his vegetables that he grew behind his house in Redondo Beach and go around selling them to his neighbors. I have a relative who was listed as a farmer on many censuses in Kansas. In 1888, he needed to supplement his family's income by becoming a postmaster. My grandparents raised budgies for extra income. Here is me and my dad in their aviary. My great-great-grandaunt and her family would take 2 wagons with their teams of horses to pick wild plums. The trees were about 24 miles away from their home. Each wagon would hold 40 bushels of wild plums. They slept on the ground at night until they had filled both wagons with hand-picked plums. They would take them into Hays, Kansas, and sold every one of them. This is my mom selling flowers in a local small grocery store. This is Chuck's grandmother and his aunt on the tiny island of Utila. You may not be able to do this for an extra income, but they are making sugar from sugarcane. In 1875, the prairies of Kansas were covered with buffalo bones, where they had been killed for their hides. One of the ways the early settlers had of making a little money was by picking up those bones and hauling them to Hays to sell, where the bones were ground up and used in fertilizer. Convenience. Why did most people walk away from homesteading, even if it was just having a little garden in their backyard? My mother hated everything about the country, with the exception of growing flowers. She often said she could hardly wait until they invented a pill so she didn't have to cook anymore. She liked the convenience of opening a can, and she did not want to be the person who put up that jar of peaches. Homesteading is not convenient. It is not easy. But the accomplishment of doing something important gives you a feeling of satisfaction that little else can. A lot of people walked away from the family farm in the early 1900s because they wanted to be modern. They didn't want to live like their parents and grandparents did. A lot more people walked away from homesteading after World War II. It was so much easier to buy at the grocery store, and they found that their victory garden was a lot of work. Homesteading is hard work. I remember as a child looking at my grandmother's hands and thinking, I never want to have hands that look like that. I look back at this photo and I see a woman who cooked, cleaned, canned, gardened, raised a family, and all that love shows up on her hands. My great-great-granduncle said that once his sons were old enough to do most of the farm work, he would just spend his day keeping things in repair, fixing barn doors, mending harnesses, gardening, keeping the doors on the buildings in the brisk, breezy Kansas wind, and taking care of sick farm animals, horses, cattle, pigs, and chicken. A lot of people have turned back to the hard work of homesteading. They have found that the food from the grocery store isn't all that nutritious. Heck, I even spoke to a neighbor who grows vegetables to sell at the farmer's market, and she admitted to me she sprays her crops with pesticides. The only way to know what is on your plate is if you grow it yourself. And then there will be nothing spotty in your vegetable bin. Plus, you have that feeling of satisfaction and pride. So what to learn from looking at old photos? Deuteronomy 32:7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your father, and he will tell you. Your elders, and they will show you. I love this photo of my dad. He's mostly in silhouette, but I noticed his bare feet. Exodus 3:5. Remove your shoes, for you stand on holy ground. There he is in his garden, a garden being one of the first gifts from God. I can't think of a place more holy. This is Chuck's great-great-grandmother on the island of Utila. We might just look at this as a photo from the past, but if we look behind her, we see a lath house, which was used to keep things cool. It provided some shade and allowed the breeze to flow through. Here is my grandmother in Oceanside, with a lath house behind her. Chickens. You can see in this photo from 1930 that these birds look a bit different than from the birds we rear today. My father gave raising meat birds a try. He found out it wasn't for him. The point is, he tried it. This photo is of my great-grandmother with my brother and sister and I. It just looks like a pleasant family snapshot. But my grandfather grew that avocado tree that he brought up from Oceanside to our backyard in San Bernardino. Sometimes you're really fortunate and you are blessed to own a family heirloom. This cast iron kettle belonged to my great-great-grandmother. She could have used it for cooking, or she could have used it for laundry. Bast just thinks she looks cute in it no matter what. This brass bucket was also used by my great-great-grandmother. My mother told me that Ladora used this to milk the cows. This time, Slinky thinks she looks cute in it. Animals on the farm. How did they fit in? Proverbs 12:10. A righteous man regards the life of his animal. My granduncle on one of my great-grandfather's horses. She pulled a buggy and was part of the stagecoach team in Benicia, California in 1902. My great-grandmother won an award for this photo. She took the photo, then developed the negative and made the print herself in her kitchen. Our peacock, Bink. Peafowl will eat small snakes, scorpions, centipedes. They are also wonderful alarms. My katan. Why is there hay in the back of a car? Because when you don't have a truck, you do whatever you need to do. Your farm animals can make great backdrops for Christmas cards. There's my dad in a little goat cart. Our horse Pyrite dressed as a moose. Ducks are a wonderful addition. They eat slugs, snails, and duck eggs are great for baking cakes. The animals need to be taken care of every day, sun or snow. Common sense should be at the heart of your lives with your animals. My great-great-grandaunt was 7 years old when the war between the states began. She lived in Tennessee. She remembered seeing army mules that fell of exhaustion by the roadside. She recalled their enormous size and that sometimes they would lie many days before finally dying because no one was allowed to kill them. The government, in trying to protect their mules, was short-sighted, and the poor animals suffered. Are you passing on your knowledge? Joel 1:3. Tell your children about it. Let your children tell their children, and their children another generation. Genealogy isn't about the lives of your antecedents. It's also about your descendants. What information are you leaving them? As a child, I would spend at least a week with each set of grandparents during the summer. My grandparents who homesteaded had me help out here and there, but I never really paid attention. Sometimes when I'm working in my garden, I wonder if my father, grandparents, great-grandparents would approve of what I'm doing. So many times we have to guess what was going on, but if you write of your struggles and successes, future generations will praise you. Any skill that you know that you can pass on to the next generation right now is helpful. My great-great-granduncle, who moved to Kansas, learned from the gardeners back in Tennessee to build hothouses and place in them piles of green cow manure for heating and to raise early spring vegetables while there was still snow on the ground. Fishing is a great thing to teach children. My dad was a great fisherman. Here he is showing our son how to cast. Dad also used to go spearfishing. And look at the pride of this little boy who has caught his first fish, and his grandfather teaching him how to tell a fish story. My mom and my daughter baking cookies together. My dad teaching my son to drive a riding lawnmower. Chuck and our son were putting up a shelter for the horses, so why not use that opportunity to have a little grandson/nephew help out? I love this photo of my daughter and the one of her great-great-great-grandfather, who also loved his sunflowers. Our children have made adobe bricks by stomping straw into mud and forming it into blocks to dry in the sun. We have moved cast iron bathtubs for the horses' water with round logs that were moved from the back of the tub to the front as it was rolled along. Ah, the joys of homeschooling. We had fun trying different ancient methods of doing things without spending a lot of money. But what if you don't have family who wrote autobiographies? There are all kinds of places where you can find historical farming techniques. Go to the source. Go to a homesteader. And don't be like the U.S. Congress when they had questions about the state of American farms. They brought in an actress, not a farmer. If all else fails, you can find a historical reenactment group. I've come across many people who tell me, "Oh, I've done my family tree." Charting your family tree is like homesteading. It's never complete. There's always something more to do. As my grandfather says in this photo, it's a long, long trail. Keep your chin up. Keep moving along. Your ancestors did it. So can you. Thank you for watching Our 2-Acre World. We'll see you next time.
Our 2-acre world gives us a simple life.